All right, Eric, thank you. Millions across the country are voting for this nation's next president. Will it be Vice President Kamala Harris or former President Donald Trump? They are locked in what is a very tight race across this country. Nearly 82 million people have voted early. With various time zones in the mix here, some polls will be open until 1 o'clock this morning, our time. Some states may start to call results as early as 7 o'clock tonight. Either the vice president or the former president will need 270 electoral votes to win the presidency.
A man is arrested in Ann Arbor this morning for allegedly threatening to commit a violent attack if former President Trump wins the election. Prosecutors say 25-year-old Isaac Sissel sent a threat to the FBI National Threat Operations Center in West Virginia, saying, quote, "I shall carry out an attack against conservative Christian filth in the event Trump wins the election," end quote. Sissel allegedly added that he stole an AR-15. He was scheduled to appear in federal court this afternoon. There have been no credible reports of intimidation or other problems at polling places here, and that is very good news.
It is indeed. As we mentioned earlier, turnout appears to be pretty good today. Mid-Michigan Now's Courtney Bennett is live outside a polling location in Flint.
Where are you, Courtney, and how's the turnout been there since you've been there?
Stella, Mike, we are standing outside of the Hasselbring Senior Center, which is located on the city's north side. You can see behind me that there is a lineup, and there has been a lineup since we've been out here for the past 20 minutes. I did talk to one woman just moments ago, and she told me that she's been waiting roughly about 25 minutes to cast her ballot inside the Senior Center here. We were out here earlier today, and here's what voters had to say on this election day.
I think voting is super important because not voting is like voting for who you don't want to win.
Shayana Kroom lives down the street from Hasselbring Senior Center. For her, it was an easy walk to get to her polling sites.
It was pretty quick, you know. I mean, it's a line, obviously, but I think that's wonderful that there is a line because that means a lot of people want to be out here to vote.
Like the hundreds of people who have visited this precinct since the polls opened at 7 this morning, Kroom says she wanted to vote in person on Election Day. But there were other options this year. This is the first presidential election where early voting was available for people. It lasted for 9 days, ending this past Sunday. As of this afternoon, between early voting and absentee in Flint, the Michigan Secretary of State's voter dashboard shows nearly 11,000 absentee ballots returned and more than 5,200 ballots cast during early voting. That's just under 29% voter turnout before Election Day.
Well, I didn't want to take a chance on the lines being too long and different things like that. I wanted to make sure that my vote is turned in, so I voted early and I voted absentee.
Elfrida Riley was working outside this polling location encouraging people to vote. She says she saw a lot of people in just a couple of hours.
First-time voters are here today. It's absolutely awesome. I'm so excited.
From first-time voters to people who have cast their ballots in multiple presidential elections, people are just excited to be out here to be a part of this process. Now remember, the polls are open until 8 o'clock. If you are in line by 8, stay in line because you will be able to cast your votes. Mike, Stella, I'll send it back to you.
Courtney, we have a question for you. From what you've heard there, what is the biggest motivating factor for voters showing up?
I talked to several people in line out here, and they told me that it's women's rights. That's the issue that they are most concerned about right now, and that's what motivated them to come out here and vote today on this election day. And many people just saying that it's their right to vote, so they wanted to make sure that they were exercising that right to vote. For now, live in Flint, Courtney Bennett, Mid-Michigan Now.
All right, Courtney, thank you for that live report. Always good to hear people willing to be engaged in the voting process, no matter how they plan to vote. Now, if you still want to vote but missed the pre-registration deadline, you can still participate in this election. You can register to vote in person at your city or township clerk's office with proof of residency. You can show your driver's license or state ID, a utility bill, bank statement, or other government document. Once registered, they will provide you with an absentee ballot, which you can fill out and turn in right there on the spot. The important distinction here is that you can only do this same-day registration and voting at your city or township clerk's office. You can't do this at a polling place, and the deadline is still 8 o'clock tonight.
Very valuable information. And on your ballot today, you might notice a familiar name is not on it. It's Congressman Dan Kildee. His 8th congressional district seat is up for grabs.
He is retiring from Congress when his term ends in January. Democrat Kristen McDonald-Rivet and Republican Paul Young are battling for the seat. Mid-Michigan Now's Kyle Macon is live in downtown Flint for us with more on that race.
And Kyle, with Congressman Kildee stepping down, what should voters know about his background and their 2 choices to replace him?
Mike, Stella, I'm outside of the building that houses Dan Kildee's office. This election represents the first time in nearly 50 years that the Kildee name was not on the ballot. Kildee got his start in politics at 18 and in 2012 was elected to the House of Representatives. He announced earlier this year that he would not be running again to spend more time with his family. As we told you earlier, Republican Paul Young and Democrat Kristen McDonald-Rivet are running for that 8th congressional district spot. Young, who worked for the Trump administration, is pro-life, a supporter of gun rights and bringing jobs back to Michigan. Rivet, who is endorsed by Kildee, is a state senator who supports restoring women reproductive rights, gun reforms, and lowering prescription drug costs. Mid-Michigan Now sat down with both candidates to ask them what issues are important to them.
I think it's to try to represent the voters in this district who want to see a change, who want to see an economy that works for working families, who want to feel safer in their communities, who want to see a lawless southern border secured, and they really just want to see change.
I think it's important that we focus on and protect the rights of working families and the pathway of working families to make sure that there is an opportunity for success for everyone.
If Young wins, that would be the first time in a half-century that a Republican would represent Flint. If Rivet wins, she would hold on to a seat that Democrats have held on to since 1959. Reporting in Flint, Kyle Macon, Mid-Michigan Now.
Politics will be very different in Flint without Dan Kildee in office. He's been a great supporter and worker for this area, for the people in this district. But we'll see who ends up winning that race. Kyle, thank you for the live report. Mid-Michigan Now, of course, will have team coverage for you throughout the evening as we track election results from the presidential race to a U.S. Senate race, which we will talk about momentarily, and various congressional races, along with some local contests. We will keep you informed on air, online, and on social media. Mid-Michigan Now, election 2024 coverage coming up throughout the night.